Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
The Houston Astros are world champions for the first time in franchise history.
Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
This is the Legends 34 Sports Podcast with your hosts, K. Reno and DJ Red.
Legends 34, episode 28. We're getting on down the line here, I guess, huh? Well, first off, we want to, of course, I want to shout out to Nice Graphics. Don't think twice, man. Think Nice. You want to get your banners, your printing. Give Nice a call, man. He can get you hooked up.
No doubt.
All righty, we're back. All right. We have a fantasy football award ceremony, and we have the lottery like we did last year. Kay said he'd graciously like to be a part of that this year. We're still trying to trying to get him to be a part of the league, but he's still fighting temptation, I think.
Not yet.
But
Studying to do.
that's going to be happening next Saturday. We're going to film that. It's going to be a part of the Legends 34 broadcast. So that's going to be great. And also, I want to get started. Before we get started, I mentioned earlier to you all on the phone about we did some new shorts released on YouTube. And one of those was the conversation between me and you about LeBron James and how all the pieces that would have been still with the team, right? But they moved them out. Who knows why, LeBron? But that video's got over 8,000 views and 15 subscribers. So who's ever come here from that video, man, welcome. And I guess we're going to have more Lakers talk now.
No, we ain't got to fall into the rabbit hole, but anytime you mention LeBron and Lakers, that's gonna fall into the algorithm. You know how that goes, Yeah.
Evidently, man. Wow.
He gonna come up by default anyway. It's just a LeBron-centric league. That's all that is.
Well, I guess we're gonna move on to basketball, man. The Rockets, no preseason yet. Of course, we're still waiting. We're in the off season right now, but some interesting things right now going on as far as Amen Thompson's training, getting acclimated to Kevin Durant being part of the team. Who's going to get what minutes? What are you hearing on your side?
Yeah, I think my biggest concern, I think concern is the right word to use, is what kind of training that guys are doing in the offseason. Are y'all working on y'all's weaknesses? Because when I think about like with Jalen, I was so disappointed because even though I did see him get better in certain areas, I never saw the jump, that leap to where offensively, defensively he got better, but I never saw that leap. And that comes from a guy not really working on his weaknesses. So with Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., those are the two that stand out to me. They have to work on the things they don't do well. Like for Amen Thompson, it would be his outside shooting, maybe better ball handling in terms of when you are playing the point guard spot. For Jabari, ball handling, being able to create his own shot better, and getting a little stronger because with Jabari, he has games where he rebounds real good, but one of our biggest issues, he don't block enough shots for me, man. We need more of a rim protecting presence. And it's good to have, a physical guy like Steven Adams, your brother, and
Uh-huh.
also to bring back a guy like Clint Capella. But we need guys that can rim protect. So with those guys, I'm not hearing anything that they're doing training wise, but I hope that we see something. Remember when Akeem used to bring something back every year to his game? Every year
Right.
he would come back, ooh, he added that. You know, that's what I want to see these young guys do, man. Bring something back, and maybe KD's presence can help Jabari and Amin do that.
Right. Another, I guess, roster move that was, I guess, is some regards a little head scratching because they moved Cam, but they went and got JD Davison. And those who not familiar with this cat, I think we can run. Let's see if we can. JD Davison, man, this guy was MVP of the G League, and he's been sitting behind Jaylen Brown and Tatum. The Rockets went out and got him, which, like I said, Cam Whitmore was supposed to be this guy, but maybe him having issues with playing time last year forced the Rockets' hand, where they try to go get a more, I guess, more seasoned player that they can get as a scoring punch behind Kevin Durant. I want to know what your feelings on this is, and have you seen the highlight on JD?
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you're playing for Boston and you're playing behind not just those two wings, not just behind Tatum and Brown, but you're also playing behind Derek White. You're playing behind Drew Holiday. So I can understand why his time, he may not be getting as many minutes. And I can understand where maybe they may say, okay, let's trade him. But they did get rid of Drew Holiday, even though Drew is a point guard. So this guy is more of a scoring type of guy. Um, Maybe they brought him in to try to fill in whatever Cam was supposed to be. Because when you look at the Rockets roster is deep, player for player. But if you really look at whatever the bench is going to look like, it's not going to be a lot of scoring. I don't see a lot of scoring on that bench, because you got to remember something else too. You got to remember that they signed Josh Okogie, but he's a defensive guy, which we
Right.
really need. I love having defensive guys that you can just stick on a guy and, hey man, you lock that guy up and make him work. So that's going to be interesting, but he can't score. So maybe this guy will be a guy that can come in and help the bench. The team is deep, so I don't know if he'll be in the rotation, or he may be another Cam Whitmore situation where he may play one night and then be sit out for 3 games. But we'll just have to see what his game and his attitude is.
Yeah, we'll see. Probably in those first few preseason games, we'll get a
Yeah.
temperature or a pulse of what that
How tall
rotation.
is he?
I think he's about 6'5".
Yeah,
He's
that's
comparable to Cam's size and build. I think Cam's probably a little more athletic, probably, but still,
yeah.
uh, this guy's been pretty impressive. I mean, hell, he's the MVP of the G League.
Right.
Uh, we'll
Yeah.
see how that works out.
Yeah.
Also, since we're on the topic of basketball, have you heard about this topic? The Holy Grail, huh? The Kobe and the Jordan card went up for auction with Heritage Auctions for a record $12.9 million. I don't know if you heard about this.
No, I didn't hear about this. So is this one card?
This is one collectible card, and it has pieces of jerseys from Kobe and Michael, both with their signature.
12 million.
Yeah, almost 13 million, which is right up my alley because I'm in the collectibles and whatnot.
I
But
wish that I had it. Yeah.
just have it on the wall, right?
Not surprising, two iconic players. Of course, anything with Jordan might could have pulled close to that by itself. And with Kobe being gone now, of course, unfortunately, that would increase the value. So no, that's not surprising that I went for that. I want to know who bought it. I want to know who owned it first.
Right.
How they get it both signed? I don't know. I'd like to see that. But yeah, for 13 mil, yep, I'd have sold it too.
Yeah, that's they said it was gonna be a record amount. I didn't think it was gonna be that high, but
Yeah.
wow. But
I wonder what the previous record was for.
uh I think a $5 million rookie LeBron James card,
Oh
according.
yeah, so it shattered. It shattered the record.
Right.
Shattered the record.
And the another basketball tidbit here, especially as Houstonians. Hakeem Olajuwon's sons, Abdullah, Rahman, and Aziz, are all now. I don't know if you've been following this. I guess prodigies or prospects. Two of them are playing in the Jordan League. One of them is coming out of high school. They're all fairly tall, fairly skilled. I've seen highlights. I don't know if you've seen any of these highlights.
No.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're in Michael Jordan's league of all people, huh?
Well, it's kind of like with the Jordan brand. Jordan will have guys a part of his brand and all that. And I don't know what the connection is, but Jordan always had love and respect for Akeem and Akeem for Jordan, and vice versa. So, it don't surprise me. And plus, hey man, this is business in basketball. But I did see an article about Rockman Olajuwon about a week ago, and I didn't even know he existed. I didn't know Akeem had all these sons floating around like that. But I'm hoping that one of Akeem's children can kind of break through and be really good. I remember he had a daughter that played the college and played in. I wonder if his daughter played in the WNBA for a while. I know she played college, but I would love to see another generation of Olajuwons, coming to the NBA and be good, be good enough. Because the old saying, you know how it works in the NBA. If the father was great, the son gonna be If the father was mediocre, the son gonna be great.
Steph Curry, huh?
Yeah, Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant,
Klay Thompson,
yeah,
yeah, a
yeah,
list
Klay
of them.
Thompson. If the it's never two greats. It's either the dad was great and the son was mediocre, or the son, and vice versa, man. So that's weird. I want to see, you know.
And one of those Jordan kids that end up on the railroad tracks, he ain't trying to hear none of that discussion right now, right?
Yeah, man. Sometimes that money and privileges is a blessing and sometimes it's a curse.
Man, it's crazy, man.
It is.
Um, that's always a great tidbit. I was maybe one of these we explore that on the show, like an all uh NBA Sun team.
Yeah, because it's been
Thought
a lot.
about how many there are. There's NBA babies.
It's been a lot of them in the league right now.
That's what I'm saying right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now, because we got one on our team, Jabari Smith Jr.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. And LeBron's playing with his son.
Yeah.
So it happened. Tim Hardaway Jr. Like you say, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and all these guys that had fathers that played the league. So yeah, it's rare, even though we just named a nice amount of guys. It's still a rare thing, for lightning to strike like that twice, and father and son make it to the league.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
And watch this. This the crazy part. The way the league is set up now with the financial side of it, that could have been a father who might have been pretty good, and the son is not that good or kind of middle of the pack, and the son ended up making way more money in the career than the father did. I'm confident, and we'd have to research it. And not saying this dude is a scrub because he ain't, but I feel like Tim Hardaway Jr. has probably already made more money in his NBA career than Tim Hardaway Sr. Now we
yeah,
have to check
probably.
because Tim might have got some big contracts, probably in the middle of his career when the money went up. But it would surprise me because the middle of the pack guys getting $5-8 million a year now. You know what I'm saying? So the economics are just different.
Yeah, as well as ticket prices and price
Yeah,
for a hot dog in the arena, you name it, parking.
and sponsorship. You know,
Right. That's
sponsorship.
true
You know,
too.
so the money that's what shoots the money up. So you know, I talked about a while back where I remember when Magic Johnson first signed for $1 million a year. That was like the biggest thing in the world, you know, for a guy to be making $1 million a year. And so now that's like they'll laugh you out of the office if you $1 million. A two-way guy might be making.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, the finances have changed on it. So guys that played long before, guys like Oscar Robertson and Bill Russell and those guys that played way back in the days, the money that these guys make, man, those guys in one season, guy make $10 million. Oscar didn't make nothing close to that his whole career.
Right. The money they make now is just astronomical, man. It's
And
crazy. I mean, some of the players' payrolls are enough as a whole franchise in some
back in
regards,
the
you know.
day, yeah. Go if you go back and research what some of those franchises sold for back in the 70s and 80s, even up into the 90s, or some depending on which team, you buy an NBA team for $10 million, or something like that. So now these teams are going for billions of dollars. Tillman Fertitta bought the Rockets for how much? Like
Oh yeah.
Leslie Alexander made a hell of a profit.
Right. It's probably a
Yeah.
billion, at the time.
But at the end of the day, man, the money is cool because I'm glad those guys making that kind of money, but it just shows how we're talking about the franchises. And Charlie Thomas before Les Alexander, he made a big profit off of Charlie Thomas. But if you look up how much Leslie Alexander paid for the Rockets compared to what he sold to Tillman Fertitta for, we'll try to see if I can find that.
Yeah, that's a hell of a
Everybody,
profit, man.
yeah, everybody's making a profit, man. Yeah.
I mean, it's not basketball, but Daniel Snyder sold the Commanders, man. He was all ticked off, but dude made billions, man, selling the Commanders, man. Well, from what he bought it for, 20 years ago?
Yeah, same with Donald
Crazy.
Sterling. Same with Donald Sterling of the Clippers.
Yes.
He got rewarded for being a racist.
Yeah.
And I think he sold the Clippers for probably close to $1 billion, if I remember right. So when he was forced to sell them, So, that's just
Let alone handling a professional franchise as if it was a farm system for how many years? I mean,
yeah,
come on.
yeah, like yeah, right,
Jeez,
right,
man.
right, right.
It was ridiculous. Any more basketball news before we move
Yeah,
on?
yeah. Now, and just to finish this up, yeah, Leslie Alexander bought the Rockets for 85 million in
For
19.
Charlie Thomas. Dang.
He paid 85 million for the Rockets, and then sold it to Tillman Fertitta for 2.2 billion. So he made well over a billion. He made almost a $2 billion profit. Which is
Who's the highest paid player in the NBA right now?
uh they signed these contracts up. Is it Tatum?
Tatum or Brown?
I know Brown signed a year or so ago, and
Because I think at the back end of those deals could be around 80 million a year. So you see where I'm going with that, right?
oh yeah, no doubt the price, the amount those guys
Wow.
getting for 1 year, is what a team was sold for, back in the days. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but like I say, that's the boom, that's the economics of it. I ain't mad. Let me see now, Steph. Let me see these guys. Let me see who's the highest paid. These guys making a killing. It ain't me. I know that much. Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll get back to that. But that's some got to be a great feeling, man. Watching these guys. I remember the league minimum was like $500,000 at one point. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But we can move on.
Well, we're gonna move on to football, and I was watching some older episodes, and we always say we have a session or a section, I guess, where we talk about Houston's history, and why not before this football season starts, right? You know where things started and where they are now, right? For
Right.
those who don't know of Houston's history and Houston's heartbreaking past, right? So why not? Uh, sorry, Kay, we're gonna have to relive a heartbreaking moment here.
Uh, well, we gonna relive it. I mean, I already lived it once, so
Right. So that is Oilers and Bills.
oh boy.
Right, right. So here you go. You got the right before the half. I think Warren's got 3 touchdowns. And he throws this strike to Jeffries. And he gets jiggy with it. Warren's thrown 4 touchdowns. And this is the Bills playoff. What's this round one, I believe.
Yeah.
Was that a hell of a year this year? I think they went on a winning streak. It was unbelievable, man. The electricity was in the air, man. And we were up 28-3 at the half. Now I know you got stories just like I got stories, right? Where are you at this moment?
I was in my mind like, okay, we getting
You're at
ready.
home, you're with friends,
Oh,
you
I
at
was at
a
home. I was at home. But physically, I was at home. Mentally, I was like, okay, we probably gonna beat these guys. Because guess what? This how clear I remember about this game. Right at the start of the second half, Bubba McDowell intercepts a pass and runs it back for a touchdown.
yes.
And so now that score was instantly 35-3.
Yep.
At that point, I'm like, it's over. We
Right.
good. This game is over. No way we gonna lose. It's not even a thought in my mind that okay, we moving on next week and we playing whoever's gonna be waiting next week. Yep.
I'm uh 16, 17 years old. I'm working at Subway, one of my first jobs. I have to work on shift on this day. So anything I know back then there's no internet, so I think there was a phone line you could call and it give you sports scores. I think that was the best you could get, right? Or if
Yeah.
somebody had a radio. But what I do vividly remember, the owner of the store came in at the halftime, a smile ear to ear. Of course, he had bets riding on the game and whatnot. He was
Uh,
a happy dude, right? And then, uh, so here we go. Coin toss, and I believe the Oilers get it.
yeah.
And unfortunately, I believe it's this play here. I don't know how this highlight reels wound up, but I believe here's the end of the pick,
And
and the Bills get it.
he had so much time to pass, man.
I know, man, all day, and
All day to pass. I just because in my mind, I'm like, how are we even in overtime? How are we even at this point, man? You know.
of course, there's another controversial play that happens with Don Beebe being out of bounds. I
Yeah,
think that's
but
part of it. But here's the heartbreaking moment.
yeah, Scott Norwood. But you know the crazy part about it,
Man,
even with Don B, it shouldn't even come to that. That's one time. That's not like Mike Renfro. You know, it's like you up 35-3, man. It shouldn't even come down to a controversial call. Now, I'm gonna tell you something I remember about that game that really stood out. At halftime, I will never forget this. I wish I could find the actual full clip of that whole game where they show halftime and everything. Boomer Esiason, who played for the Cincinnati Bengals at the time, he was like a guest analyst on the halftime show. Maybe they didn't make the playoffs that year, but it was 28-3, and he said, "Man, I'm gonna tell you because you got to remember, Jim Kelly wasn't the quarterback. They had Frank Reich. Jim Kelly was hurt for
It was
Buffalo.
hurt. Frank Wright.
Frank Reich was the quarterback that day." And Boomer Esiason said something at halftime. He said, "Well, if everybody was like it's over," he was like, "Well, you got to remember something. Frank Reich led the biggest comeback ever in college football history." He mentioned that at that time. So he was like basically saying, "Well, don't count him out." And even at halftime, I was like, Psh, he ain't coming back from this one. I'll bet he don't come back from this one. And he came back. So at that time, by the time that game was over, Frank Reich had the record for the biggest comeback in college football history and had the biggest comeback in NFL history, man. And I remember I was about to cry that day. I was really about to cry.
Well, needless to say, man, my boss came back. He was pissed off.
He fired everybody now.
Lucky I had a job, man.
Uh,
Man, he was mad, man. And I also heard stories. I don't know if you've heard these stories where people were collecting the bets at halftime or in the third quarter and then going back and having to pay the dead
yeah.
after the game.
And it's funny because that halftime score was the exact same score in the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady and the Patriots came back from 28-3, and they won that Super Bowl in overtime against
Here in Houston, right?
I don't remember if it was here.
I think that was here, yeah.
But it was the same score, 28-3. So what is the lesson we learned today, boys and girls?
It's never
If the
over.
team is up 28-3, don't leave. Don't leave the house. Yeah, because it's never over. But in football, it should be over. Basketball has the 3-point shot. So I understand how things can turn a 20-point lead, 25-point lead in basketball early. You got a chance. But I never understood with the Oilers why we couldn't score no more. Because if you have 28 points at halftime and 35 points once the interception, the pick six happens, and you end up with 38 for the game, which means they only scored 3 points in the second half, and the 3 points that they scored was a three-pointer to tie the game to get to overtime because they had lost the lead. So I never understood why the offense stalled so much. I remember remember we talked to Richard Johnson, and we was talking about the defensive coordinator for the Oilers, Jim Eddy, who wouldn't adjust and change the defense. And the Oilers went to a prevent real early, and it just opened the field up, man. So yeah, I'm describing this game like I saw it last week. That's how it still sits on me, man. And that was 30-something years ago, 33 years ago.
Hey, what do you think? Why the pain is so deep? I mean, it's our team, of course, and I mean, that was when we had the Oilers. There was no threat of them leaving town, right? That was our football team, man. The Astrodome and the whole energy and the Love You Blue and the Warren Moon. Just him being who he was at the time. Again, money, right? He was one of the first $1 million quarterbacks, right?
Well, you said it. The reason why it hurts so deep is because we was used to heartbreak in this city. We saw the Mike Renfro play with the Pittsburgh Steelers probably, 15 years prior to that, 78, somewhere up in there, 14 years prior to that. We saw the Rockets lose to the Celtics in 81 and 86. Something always happened.
Astros.
Astros in 86, they lost in 81 to the Phillies. So it's like we just had that stigma in Houston at the time, like every time we get close. So, but this situation was different because in those other situations I mentioned, It was like, well, a lot of times we was underdogs anyway, or well, they was beating us. We was trying to come from behind, or it was a close one and we lost. You up 35-3, man.
Against the backup quarterback.
Against a backup quarterback, and you looking like, man, okay, we all comfortable. Like this one is over. It's over. So that's why that one hurt so deep because it was a slow, painful torture of a comeback, only to lose in overtime. And then to put the cherry on the top and the icing on the cake, you lose to a team that just at that time kept going back to the Super Bowl to lose. So it's like these.
What Uncle Q tell us, and I won't choke like the Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, so it's like, just like, man, quit losing to this team that's only going to get to the Super Bowl and lose again. So that bothered me because I think the next game we would have played Miami. And I really know I felt like we'd have beat Miami. Miami never gave Dan Marino a running back. I just know we would have beat them. The weather would have been a lot better. We'd have beat them. And that would have been one of the years that we probably could have faced the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. It could have been all Texas Super Bowl, But let's not lose sight of the fact that the following year in the playoffs, because the Buffalo game overshadows what I'm getting ready to say. The following year, they was up 21-6 against Denver and John Elway, and they lost that one too. But people don't talk about that one because Buffalo just overshadows that one. But they had a 21-6 lead the next season and lost that one too. So now you got this football team that just got this stigma they can't win. And we can't just say it's all a thing. It's a Houston team because Deshaun Watson and the Texans was up 24 to something against Kansas City years later and lost that game. 24-3 or 24-6 or something like that. So it's like we don't do big leads well in the playoffs, man. So hopefully CJ can break this curse, man, because I remember all that stuff.
Well, I can't help but ask, man. We finish up this segment on Houston Heartbreak, right? How does, if at all, does this play give any redemption? Yeah, it's the Tennessee Oilers or the Titans.
I wanted to wait to say that because that's the first thing that came. I want to watch the play again because I remember.
Right, every time you want to see, did it really count? Right? Was that really
on the ladder there, the pass? It didn't matter. I was glad.
From my point of view, this was some redemption. I love this play, man.
I didn't.
To some extent, like this is some redemption, if you to some degree, maybe. All right,
because it's a different state, different uniform, different team, different name. They weren't even the Tennessee. Were they the Tennessee Oilers then?
I think they were the Oilers before the Titans. Maybe been the Titans. Maybe
they were still the Tennessee Oilers. But nah, it didn't. I felt a little all right about them the year.
Just the fact that Buffalo had that game won. It was won. It was over. Just like the R game against. We had it won and they came back, right?
They don't do nothing for me.
Scenario.
It wasn't my team no more. Didn't do nothing for me. It was funny, but it was like, it's not my team no more. I didn't even I got excited as a sports fan, just like, ooh, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, he's going to go all the way. But if that was the Oilers, I'd have been going crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I really didn't feel much on that game. Even when the Oilers went to the Super Bowl, I felt a little. I mean, when the Titans went to, they were still wearing the jerseys. You know what I'm saying? When they win the Super Bowl, after they left Houston. So my mind, I'm like, man, what kind of hex do the city got? Because soon as this team leaves the city, they go straight to the Super Bowl. Now they didn't win it, which was some typical Houston stuff football stuff at that time, but nah. I didn't care nothing about that because all of the usual suspects that had broke our heart, they was gone at that time when that happened on the kickoff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always be a debate how much of this loss, like you point out, the following year, another heartbreaking loss. This stuff added up to, Bud Adams wanting a new facility, a new stadium, and Houston didn't want to do it, so he moved, which we would turn around and do it anyway, for the Texans. But
Exactly.
who's to know? We win that game against Bills, or we won the Denver game. Who knows? Maybe the order's still here. Who knows, man?
The
I don't
team,
know how much it always be debated, right?
possibly it would have depended on what happened moving forward after that, because the teams that they would lose to would go on to the Super Bowl, whether they won it or not. So the AFC was a pretty open ride. It was open. It wasn't just one dominant team like how Dallas was dominating in the early 90s like that at that time. So, that's one of the biggest disappointments about those teams, as great as Warren Moon was and all that. It just he never he couldn't close. He couldn't finish the deal for us, man. And that was like tough because you got these leads like that, man. You know, and I hate to keep bringing this up, but it's all coming back to me now, man. The heartbreak, because
Let me cue the Celine Dion music real quick.
well, what happened was, you got to remember, one year, this is all in a succession. Um, Artists won like 10 games in a row,
Oh
going
yeah, Gary Brown, remember?
going into the playoffs, right?
We lost. I forgot what running back we lost early in the season, but Gary Brown came in and
Yeah.
on a bowling ball, man. It was amazing.
But what happened was, they won like 9, 10 games in a row and played the Kansas City Chiefs.
With Joe
Yeah.
Montana.
And they had just got Joe Montana. And they lost that game.
Yep.
End up getting Joe. So it's like, it just, and I love Warren Moon, but God, man, get it done once, man. Like James Harden, get it done once, man. You know, the city will love you forever if you deliver one. That's why there'll never be nobody above Dream in this city. Nobody will ever eclipse Elijah Wan, man, because he not only got us one, he got us two, back to back. You know what I'm saying? He was Houston, University of Houston, Houston Rocket. He got it done, man, because truthfully, in the back of our minds, even in the 93, 94 seasons, when the Rockets get to the championship, just because of the history, you're still kind of worried, because you might like, they're going to find some way to lose. Somehow we're going to lose. And I remember the Rockets being down 3 games to 2, leaving New York to come back to Houston. And I'm like, man, we got to beat them twice. But we got 2 shots, because it was a 2-3-2 format at the time. And we got it done. So that was for all the years. All this broke our heart, all the years, the Astros. Yep.
Thanks to Dream blocking John Stark's 3-pointer.
Game 6. Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows if that goes in?
And think about this. Game 6, 1986 in the Astrodome, Astros against the Mets. The game goes 16 innings. And if you win that game, they got to face Mike Scott in Game 7, and they couldn't touch Mike Scott.
In
The
his
Mets
prime,
could not.
right?
They could have gave the Mets. Got nothing in here. They could have gave the Mets a baseball bat this wide or wider. They still couldn't hit Mike Scott, man. So if the Astros win that game in 16 innings, Game 7 is Mike Scott, and they lost that game. It's like, so we got too much bad history, man. And it's been 30 years since they won the championship now. It's like, it's funny how we can remember those Rocket championships like they was yesterday, because we just were so happy and we remember all the details of it. But man, it's been 30 years, bro. So it's like, I feel like we are overdue, especially in football. But now we got Durant. Now we got the Rockets are back in contention to be one of the 5 teams mentioned that got a chance to win it. I don't think that the Texans are there yet. Now, had the Texans really got that offensive line right, I would have said, yeah, we could beat anybody. But I don't trust that line, so I don't. I still don't think we're good enough to beat Kansas City. I still don't think we've been good enough to beat Baltimore. And then you don't know what surprise team might get good this year. So
What a perfect segue into Texans football. And a pattern I'm seeing is a little alarming, let alone, we've discussed many times our concern over the offensive line. But again, in a moment here, you correct me if I'm wrong here. You got Pierce, you got Mixon, Wale. They picked up Woods in the draft. They got Nick Chubb now. Now they run Jordan in the pre. How many backs do they need, and how many footballs are they throwing out there? Am I missing something here? And they talking about trying to go get Brees Hall or another back. I'm like,
yeah, I mean,
why so many backs? What's going on with
I'm,
it?
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at the running back by committee because if Mixon and Chubb are healthy,
Mm.
that's going to be a problem for the other team.
Let me hold my
Uh,
caps locked down. If I
yeah,
am,
it's
but
if
you
yeah,
right.
if they right, then it's going to be a problem. But
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of Damian Pierce no more like I used to be because you don't know what you're gonna get out of him. You know, he's too inconsistent. When he came, his rookie year was like, okay, we got us another Arian Foster. We good at the running back spot. And then he just fell off the cliff. Now people might mention injuries or whatever, but it's like, he just fell off the cliff. So he had a few flashes last year. They had him returning kicks and things like that. So you can never have too many backs when you have running backs that have injury prone histories. So all three of these guys, Mixon, Chubb, Pierce, they get hurt. So I understand why they would bring in those extra guys because you just never know. It could be one or more of those guys out on any given day. But again, my issue is always going to be let's get some linemen. I don't care how good your running backs are. Y'all don't care how good your quarterback is. Protection is going to be the key,
Right.
man.
Do these running backs block?
Yeah, they're going to have to. But the protection is going to be the key. Now, this new coordinator, maybe he can cover for the bad protection with some of his schemes because some of his schemes may allow for the ball to get out faster than the predictable stuff that Bobby Slowick was running that teams knew was coming and they could just load up on it. And so this guy seems to be a little more creative with his schemes. And sometimes teams may get credit for their line being better than what it is simply because the plays dictate hut and getting the ball out quicker. So it seems like protection is there when if he'd have held it another second or so, it wouldn't have been there.
Right. Maybe these new blocking schemes that they're running, man, they're gonna give Stroud some cushion, man, some time.
Or just the
But it's
play
yet to be
itself.
seen, man. We'll see.
Yeah, just the play itself is just whoop, quick, whoop. Instead of this much of a drop that's gonna be whoop, you got to make it happen because man, last year, man, just ridiculous, man. This that can't happen again. But the personnel they got is arguably worse than it was last year. But who knows? Hope we're wrong.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Baltimore heavy favorites again, of course. That two-headed monster they got in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
Yeah, see, the Texans are like the Rockets. Defense ain't the problem. The defense is solid. You know, I watch these playoff games that the Texans play. They hold, but you can only hold for so long. They hold on. They did a great job against Pat Mahomes last year,
Yeah.
but you can't score. You know, and CJ was running the ball when he had to run, running for his life, getting first downs, but I don't want my quarterback to have to do that, you know. So the thing is, we got to get offense. The Rockets address their offensive problems. You bring in Kevin Durant, you know. The Texans got to address their offensive problems, red zone problems. Couldn't score in the red zone, consistently. They gotta change, man. They gotta change.
Yeah, we've talked about it many times. They march it down there, but they get it down near the goal line, and it just seems like, again, in my opinion, it was coaching. I mean, players can only do so much, true, but the calls were just so bizarre. Especially they get real close down on the goal line, like
And
bizarre
it
stuff.
was
Like,
predictable. Slowick was predictable. I've
right,
heard radio shows, they talk about how the other team, they just knew what was coming. He never mixed it up. You gotta keep these defenses off balance where they don't really know. It's like a pitcher with a good breaking ball, and he throw a killer fastball, and he follows it up with a breaking ball. It's like, okay, now I don't know what this dude is gonna do. That's how the offense has to be tricky, with schemes and all that. And we just didn't have that. We running a 1942 offense, man. That's not gonna get it. No matter how good your quarterback is.
right. Whether they have a successful season or they don't, it's good to. Like I've talked about this before. As young as Stroud is, and as much potential he has to learn how to play football the right way. And I don't think Slowick's way was good for him at this stage of his career, especially down in the red zone. It just
And
got
it wasn't safe for him either because I like to say
right,
you get a man killed out there, And the thing is, man, you just never know. You one hit away from needing a quarterback.
right.
So the Texans got lucky because once we lost Deshaun, I was like, we'll never get a guy like that. It'll be 20 years before we get another guy. And they ended up getting another guy. So now you got to protect this guy because you're looking at all these teams and all these, they got good young quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts is still young. Pat Mahomes is still young. Jaden Daniels for Washington was a rookie last year, still young. All these guys,
Josh Allen, geez,
Josh Allen, Lamar, all those guys are still pretty young and in their primes to where in the AFC, I mentioned Daniels, he's the NFC, but the rest of these guys are named, they all in the AFC. These are the teams you got to beat. So just imagine you do beat Kansas City. Okay, now Baltimore's waiting for you. Okay, now Buffalo's possibly waiting for you. So it's like if you don't have the offensive ability to match with what those guys can bring, I don't care how good your defense is, because they're gonna get tired. They're on the field too long. Can't be out there it's the end of the third quarter. We got 6 points. They're like, nah, man, gotta fire it up.
yeah. We'll see how this all lines up. We got 1 more week, 2 more weeks until the first regular game of the season starts, and I forget who they open up against.
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
I
again, you gotta understand something again. These guys talking about the Texans, they get a gimme every single year. They have a gimme. And what is that gimme? They are going to win this weak division that they in.
yeah,
Automatic. You got Tennessee, the Colts, and the Jaguar. It's automatic, barring tragedy, barring some kind of injury. We know the Texans are going to win this division. So we basically automatically in the playoffs, but you got to get better. Like I was saying with the Rockets, you got to improve on the things that you weak in and give yourself a chance not to just beat up on Jacksonville and all these teams. Okay, we'll beat them guys. But when the upper echelon teams come, you look lost out there. It's like, nah, man. It's crazy. 10-7 last 2 years. I love it. Love it. CJ did his thing. Off field slipped off a little last year. Man, these dudes need to go 12-5 this year. I haven't looked at the strength of schedule. They need to go 12-5, get a freaking bye if possible. See, all that plays into it. They've been lucky enough to get a home playoff game the last 2 years. Great. And they won it. But soon they got to go on that road, these cold weather cities, and it's a different ballgame. I would love to see these guys get a good enough record to where they can get a bye and only have to win 2 games to go to the Super Bowl, and both those games be at home. But we'll
Right.
see.
And this time around, I mean, I do complain about how many backs they have, but I think I'm going to complain how many receivers that they've got in their core this year, especially with all the injuries, major injuries that they faced last year. So, given his offensive line issue of protection, if that wasn't bad enough, you had Tank Dell went down and you had Nico Collins out for most of the season, and other core receivers that are
Diggs
down.
went down, yeah. Yeah, they lost 2 major receivers. Nico came back. But yeah, but that's that, they bolstering the core because these guys get hurt. Tank Dell is shaping.
Diggs was a big thing. Remember the episode we announced the trade? He was Pro Bowl. It was
Without a
excitement,
doubt. This
but
a
that went
start.
out the window quick.
You had 2 number 1 receivers on your team at that time. But like I say, just bad luck injury. But that's the thing. So I understand why you bolster up that core, because guys get hurt. Tank Dell's probably gonna be a guy that just gets hurt all the time. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like Will Fuller, but better. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, so then you got to have protection for that because when those guys got hurt last year, now we're dealing with guys like John Mechie and guys that dropping passes, Dalton Schultz dropping pass. So you got to have some guys, but that young guy that they got is supposed to be a really good guy. So we'll hopefully he'll, because it can't just be all Nico. It can't. Nico's just grown himself to be a number 1, but it got to be a threat because when they doubling Nico, you got to have somebody. Okay, we're gonna make you pay, and hopefully this year, um, this guy, the offense coordinator, will utilize more tight end action. To
I was
kind
going to mention that in the preseason, I see them
of
hitting the tight end. That was
yeah, you
looking
got to.
promising.
He just got to catch the doggone ball. So that's the thing because all these teams usually tight. Mahomes and Kelsey, Lamar and Andrews, even though Andrews, boy, he blew it last year. But the fact of the matter is, you got to have that outlet. You know, it we'll see.
Yes. Again, any inclination what they're doing in the preseason transfers over to the regular season, I don't know. But they did have the third unit out there, which, by the way, the quarterback, I believe, is a failed project from the Lions, ironically, from what I was reading. But he had a decent game, man,
Yeah,
with the Texans. I think he went 15 to 17.
yeah,
He looked all right. And again, he was hitting the tight end running across the middle, man. I was liking that. So
yeah. You got what was the saying? Somebody was saying like for a great quarterback's favorite receiver is the open receiver. You know, it's not about trying to always force it to one guy. I'm gonna force it. I got to get it to this guy. Hey, if he ain't there, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, the upper echelon quarterback, they are gonna throw to the guy who's available. I'm not trying to force it to you because you're the star. We got to win this game.
stop, man. I'm having flashbacks. Travis Kelsey open. Travis Kelsey open again.
Exactly.
Travis Kelsey open. Oh, sorry.
Exactly. No, yeah, I understand because that's what it kept being. Because if you take your focus off of a guy because you're worrying about those guys on the end, you know, but that's coaching too because like make an adjustment.
Yeah, it's easy to. It's nice to throw a touchdown from your knees
Yeah, yeah,
to a tight end in the end zone, right? That's always makes you look good.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Again, plays that haunt us Houston fans, man, over and over again. It's always
Got 2
something
minutes.
incredible we gotta break our backs with. But if we moving on to baseball, or you got anything else on football?
No, we good. We move to baseball.
Besides one corner note, I believe the Manning's grandson is going to take the reins at Texas University of Texas Longhorns this year. Arch Manning, I guess.
Uh,
We'll see how
yeah,
that all lines up.
yeah,
But on the baseball, man, Astros, we talked about, well, we hadn't have a show in a while, but since then, Astros have, you know, put together a decent record, man. At one time, one of the best records in the league. Then they got hit with the injury bug. They've now went out. They made some trades. They got Carlos Correa over here. They got another a third baseman. Now they went out and got a relief pitcher, Cambrell.
yeah.
Um, they're more than likely, of course, going to make the playoffs. I mean, you got Seattle breathing down our neck, but um, the season has turned out way more promising than it began. But again, you got injuries in the pitching core. But hopefully you'll get Alvarez back. Um, your thoughts, man?
Well, the thing that was so good in the early part of the season is the same thing that's bad now, and that's the pitching and the bullpen and all those guys. That bullpen was solid at one stretch in the year, but now you just don't know. If it's not Abreu and before Josh Hader got hurt, Hader, if it's not those two guys, maybe somebody I'm forgetting, I'm talking about bullpen right now, you can't trust them. You just can't trust them, man. And, when they brought Hector Neris back, and it's like, man, it got to a point where I could predict. It didn't matter what the score was. One game, the Astros up 7-2. I'm like, okay, well, this guy's going to come in and give up some runs, or this guy's going to come. And he would do it every time. So, so he had to go. And now you got Lance McCullers. They still, for whatever reason, just married to Lance McCullers, who I never
I
trusted.
know it's perplexing, right?
I've never trusted Lance, even when he would win some big games. And so it's just like he's hanging on, he's fighting, but the pitching wins championships. Pitching is defense in baseball.
Right.
Think about the guys behind the pitcher. Okay, yeah, that's the form of defense because they make plays and things of that nature. But that pitcher setting that tone where guys can't hit, and the pitcher causing him to hit those ground balls and pop ups and all that. The pitching not in place, man. They don't have a chance. And when you combine that with lately how bad the hitting had been, they picked it up in this Baltimore series, but man, they got shut out 3 games in a row for the first time in 40 years last week. 3 games in a row you couldn't get a run. One guy almost pitched a perfect game on them. So when you look at the roster, it's like, man, we got the pieces in place. Glad to have Correa back. Pena been playing really good. Altuve gonna be Altuve. Like you say, Jordan comes back. Hopefully that'll open it up. That'll make a dangerous lineup. But man, you got to be able to pitch, man. Hunter Brown doing his thing. Fromber, I don't trust him. Can't trust him.
Right. Kind of a
You know,
enigma, man.
Christian Javier just getting back, kind of working his way back in. But man, it ain't but a handful of guys on this team that I look at and I trust, man.
Especially get into the playoffs, man, that short rotation.
Yeah, because you can't
Rears
trust
up
certain
ahead.
guys. See, if you in playoffs also close tight games. So it's the 7th inning. You sitting on a 3-2 lead. You need a guy to get you to Abreu that can get you to Hader. We don't know who that guy's gonna be, because it'll be 3-2. Some guy comes in and gives up a couple of bombs, and now you're losing. So they got to have those setup guys, those middle guys. I mean, middle relief guys that can come in and you can trust them, man. And I just don't see them having that. They've had guys who had flashes. I don't trust flashes. So pitching is gonna be the main key going down this stretch. I think the hitting is gonna pick up. I'm not overly concerned with the hitting, especially when Jordan get back. That's gonna be a hard lineup to get through with Correa. I hate that they lost the other guy, Paredes.
Oh yeah, what a year he was having.
All-star. Yeah, made all-star team. And he's basically gonna be gone for the year, because I would have loved to see that lineup with all those guys and Jordan comes back and they got Correa on them, but they still in first place.
Yeah.
2 games, which is amazing. We talking like they 5 games out of first place, but they actually are still in first place and hanging on because Seattle, as bad as we play, Seattle is helping us out by playing worse.
Not only that, on the stats wise, man, as far as league wise, man, Astros rank is one of the great hitting teams of the league. I don't know if you look at the stats on the team, they rank in pitching on. They got a good team, man, on both sides of the ball, man. I mean, just it's a what if situation. If you had everybody healthy, what could they really be?
Yeah, it looks good. I just feel like the pitching gonna be the downfall at some point. You
Especially
know,
coming to the playoffs, and you play somebody like Detroit, which they just came off of, and they got
Beat down.
mollywopped.
Yeah, they got beat down.
They really exploited that mid relief, like you said, that bullpen.
Right,
Get
right.
5, 6 runs. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
they got bombed, and that's why I say they got to find somebody in that bullpen that's gonna take that mantle and say, okay, man, I'll be that guy. You know, I'll be the 3. Let Abreu be the 2, and Hader be the 1 to close it out. Because right now we don't know who that is, man. King, Sosa, those guys. Like say they Neris he had to go. I'm like, man, they gonna be paying Hector Neris off, bro. It's like this dude comes in and instantly starts blowing it. So yeah, he had to go.
Starts throwing batting practice, huh?
Yeah, it's
They
crazy.
used to say the Lima time neck brace.
Like, man, yeah, like, dude, what are you?
Balls flying out of the park, huh?
Yeah, man. It don't matter no matter how big the lead is. It's like, let me see how close I can let these guys get. Like, nah.
Well, I think that's going to probably wrap us up, man. Unless you got any other sports news that we missed.
Nah, just looking forward to the football season and definitely looking forward to basketball season. Hope we can get in that contention, get in that top 4, be in that final 4 at the end of the year in basketball and even in football. But what I will say,
You can't wait to win the Emeritus Cup this year. Is that what you're saying?
I could care
You,
less.
you love that
I
tournament?
could, I could care less about that crap. That's another distraction. I'm like, man, let's just do the season, man. But what I will say is that it's good to be in a place in sports in our city where all 3 teams are good. Because I can't remember the last time we've been in that situation. The last couple of years, the football team, the basketball team, the baseball team, all been playoff teams. With the Astros being contenders in and out of those last few years. So, we can complain as fans because the ultimate prize haven't come in yet. So, but when you got 3 good teams, it gives you a better chance that maybe somebody will get hot at the right time, preferably in basketball or football, and we can get this thing done, man. That's the hope.
Which cements athletes like you said, Hakeem and
Yeah.
Altuve.
It separates them.
Yeah,
See,
how in the clutch moments,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
another gear, man,
You
and
can
they
depend, you can
succeed.
depend on them. Yeah. It separates them from, not to be disrespectful, but the Warren Moons and the James Hardens and the guys who had enough and didn't get it done. They had enough. They had enough and didn't get it done. So, you know, that's why the appreciation is going to always be for Olajuwon and Altuve and those guys, because it's like, okay, when they had enough, they were like, okay, I got something to work with now. We're going to win this thing. We ain't playing around, because in retrospect, when you look at the careers of sports athletes, man, the best guys the greats of the game, even regular guys, but the greats of the game, you're going to get 15, 16, 18 years out of them. That's how long they're going to play. So you play that long and you not only maybe only win 1 or 2 championships, you only going to get the opportunity to play for the championship 2, 3 times if you're lucky. You know what I'm saying? Out of 16, 17, 18 years. That's a great career we made to the final. Elijah won in 18 years with the Rockets or 17 years with the Rockets, made it to the finals 3 times. That means 14 other times you didn't make it, you know? So you got to take advantage of that stuff when you get there, man. Getting the championship and we all timid and passive, man. Nah, you can't do that.
Right, man.
Win it, man. We in it to win it.
But I guess that's going to wrap it up until our next episode. We're going to have the fantasy football lottery and the awards ceremony this next Saturday. It's going to be the 30th. Shout out to Aunt Boogie. We're going to have it at his high volume music venue. We're going to give the winner his belt and ring. The other winner, he will be out of town. He lives in Dallas, but poor guy, he's near the Cowboys. Anyway, we didn't even talk about them and Jerry Jones. But let's save that for another episode. But again, tune in, man. Subscribe. Drop a comment, man. And we will see y'all next time. Legends 34.
Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
The Houston Astros are world champions for the first time in franchise history.
Don't ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
This is the Legends 34 Sports Podcast with your hosts, K. Reno and DJ Rec.